Hello, everyone, and it's time for Vanished Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanas. This is episode 141, season 6. And today's date is June 19th, 2022. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And a big Father's Day to my late father. I miss him every day. I wish he was here. Today's show, I will talk about two things. First will be about Brian Piccolo of the Chicago Bears, who died tragically. And I will talk about something unusual. Is automobiles from the 1970s, and they're called yachts. Excuse me. I That term has been around, I don't know, 10, 20 years, maybe more. And this is a very interesting subject. So I'll discuss my memories of these huge cars uh, when I was growing up, the makes and the models, and it should be a lot of fun. Right now, the program will go into a commercial break. This program is brought to you by Rain Barrel Fabric Softener. And this commercial is from 1976. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you, everyone.
How can you get your clothes rainwater soft?
Without having to wait for the rinse cycle? Get Rain Barrel Fabric Softener. Rain Barrel is much more convenient than ordinary fabric softeners because it works in the wash cycle. See? Rain Barrel goes in at the start of your wash and works all the way through.
Leaving everything rainwater soft.
Rain Barrel.
Rainwater softness.
With no waiting for the rinse cycle.
Alrighty, everyone. I am back. I hope you enjoyed that commercial for Rain Barrel Fabric Softener. They don't make this product anymore. I don't know when it was discontinued. Probably early 80s, I would think. But it was in competition in the 70s. Like, for example, Downy. Then Snuggle came later. And let's see what else. There was another one called, I can't think of it. Miracle Touch, I think. I can't. Miracle Blue. I don't remember. And Miracle White. That's it. Miracle White. I remember that. And there was one in the early '60s and early '70s, late in the '60s. New Soft fabric softener. There's commercials on YouTube, so help yourself to look at those. They're nice to come back because laundry detergent commercials were very popular. Still are in a way, but because it's very essential for the home. You need that. Okay. At the beginning of the program, I mentioned that I will discuss about Brian Piccolo of the Chicago Bears and also those huge yacht cars that in the 70s. I won't go into the 80s because, well, there's a lot to cover, and but just mainly I will talk about in the 1970s where I was growing up as a child, and this would be a lot of fun. And we didn't own a land yacht in the beginning. Our first car in the family that first owned the car was a Mercury Montego. It wasn't really a land yacht. It was a two-door car, maroon, and it fit about 5 people. We bought it. We bought it in '75. It was used, so this was a 1972 model. And people from my neighborhood where I lived in Ashburn remember it fondly. They still sometimes I post that on Facebook, and my next door neighbor remembers that car vividly, and so did the other kids. And it was a good car. It lasted for a long time, and then we got rid of it. I won't go into how we got rid of it. That's another story that I don't want to discuss. So the next car we bought was a 1982 Oldsmobile Cutlass, and it looked like it was like a land yacht. It was white, The interior was maroon. We bought this car at the Jack Thompson dealership in Oakland, Illinois, that was located at 95th Street in South Pulaski, which is now a Portillo's. It's gone. And initially, my mother wanted to buy not that white car. I think probably black or blue, but not white. But then my father did a how would you say it? He did a 190 and said, "No, I want the white." A lot of people, I think all of us didn't care for that, but we stuck with it. So it was a nice car, but it didn't last very long. And then, so we sold it. We traded in, and then we bought Toyotas, which my mother still drives to this day. My father never drove in his life. He took, from what I understand, what my mother told me, that he took the driver's test in the 50s, and then he just didn't pursue it. He didn't continue. He relied on public transportation to go to work, to his properties, and all that. He didn't want to drive at all. No. So my mother started driving in 1974. Thank God, she wanted to, and she's been driving ever since. She's in her late 80s, and she's very diligent. So she's that. Thank goodness for that. And I've drove those cars, the Montego and the Mercury Montego and the Cutlass. The Cutlass inside looked very luxurious, very with the leather and the plush seats. That was cool, like that. And then my first car was a Chevrolet Cavalier. I got that as a graduation present in 1986 when I graduated to DeVry. I love that car. It was blue. There's a picture of me and my mom standing in front of it. One day I will post it on my social media, and it's very 80. We look like it was in the 80s. So I had the hair and it's a nice photo. I've had it for a long time, and then I switched to Toyota in '93. I remember it was a Corolla, cherry red. I think it was apple red, cherry red. It was beautiful. Excuse me. And then had that for a long time. Then when I bought another Corolla, 2004, it was a sand color, like tan. And I've had that for about 17 years. That's a long time. I love the car. And now I bought a new one, another Toyota Corolla, last October for my birthday. And being cancer free. Well, actually, I was cancer free about a few weeks later. But it's black and it's gorgeous. I love it. I don't drive much, but the thing is, I don't like SUVs, sports utility vehicles. I don't care for them. I don't know. There's something they're like tanks. I don't care for it. Mm-mm. A lot of my friends have them. A lot of people that I know do, but no one has ever told me why you have this car. Why don't you buy an SUV? I go no, because they have big excuse me, big gas tanks. The Corolla has a good sizable tank, but with gas prices today, I don't spend like a lot of money like that, like other people, and they're complaining, which I don't blame them, but it's getting old fast. So I'm sticking to sedans. There's a rumor they might discontinue cars like that. I hope not. I mean, when you get older, you need a little easiness in your life. You don't want an SUV because they're tall like that. So the sedan, it's perfect like for Cadillacs, which I like. Okay. Right now I'll discuss about the Land Yachts in general. And most of the they're like full-size luxury cars, mostly. The most car companies that produced these were Cadillac, Lincoln, and Buick. And Pontiac, I don't think Pontiac did. Maybe, sort of. I think they did. And also there was the luxury car that Chrysler made, Imperial. That was good. And if you remember American Motors, AMC, they had a land yacht. It was called the Ambassador. It was also station wagons. I'll talk about station wagons in a future episode. Also, there was like the New Yorker. That was the Chrysler brand. Remember that? Excuse me. Forgive me for coughing. My throat gets dry. Uh, there was also in Chevrolet. There was a Chevrolet Caprice and the Cadillac Fleetwood, and of course the Ford Crown Victoria. In Mercury, the Mercury cars was the Grand Marquis. A friend of my mother's had a maroon Grand Marquis. I think it was maroon. Yeah, or green. I think it was maroon. And it was, I rode in it one time when I was a little boy. And it was like a boat. And it was very comfortable. You know what? It is so comfortable. It's like you're on a cloud. It's wonderful like that. And also, last but not least, the Lincoln Town Car. The Lincoln Town Car, excuse me. It's still being made. And so I believe it, yeah, I think it's still being made. Let's see what else other cars I remember. I could tell you. There was also Oldsmobile Delta 88. There was the 98 Regency. I remember that. And right now, I'm going to play a commercial for the Oldsmobile 98 Regency. And this is from 1976. So if you were growing up in the 70s and 80s and you remember these commercials very well, and they always showcase these gorgeous, large, beautiful cars, it makes you want to go out and buy one. So here it is. Here's the commercial. Thank you.
There's a place, a comfortable place, where you can surround yourself in softness. A place with amenities, rich to the touch. A quiet place with thoughtful conveniences. A spacious place with the loose cushioned look of fine furniture. The place is 98 Regency by Oldsmobile. It can make you feel at home before you even get home. The 1976 Oldsmobile 98 Regency. Can we build one for you?
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Oldsmobile 98 Regency. That's one of the Land Yachts. Here's Land Yachts. I can't say that word. Sorry. It's terrible. Other cars that I remember, Buick Electra, the Buick LeSabre. Remember that? Let's see what else. Yeah, there was I love those cars. Those were gorgeous. Very, very nice. Cutlass sort of was a land yacht in a way, but well, maybe, because we owned one, and I guess it was considered that. It really was. Also, let's see what else. Cadillacs. I think it was the Tornado. I remember that one. That was fancy. You know what? A lot of people always thought that Cadillacs is for old people, especially men that go to golf courses with their cigars in their mouths. I think that's like stereotypical, but it's not true. It's not like that, you know. And Mercury, and then I mentioned the Mercury Marquis. Do you remember the Cougars? They were, it was kind of a land yacht. Also, that was the Thunderbird. They would also as well. There's so many. There is a lot of them, and I'm sure you grew up seeing these cars, watch the commercials on TV, or owning one, riding them. It's amazing. And one last memory of that. Well, when I grew up in Ashburn, I used to ride my bike on the sidewalks, and I I see all the land yachts parked on the driveways. They were in the garage, and I noticed every different make and model, colors, and also I forgot to mention the Ford Limited. That was a big land yacht, and that was kind of luxurious in a way. So it's too bad they're not as popular. People's tastes in cars have changed dramatically. I mean, this is 2022, so it's the SUV era. Okay, so that's the way it is. All right. Right now, I'm going to talk about the Brian Piccolo. of the Chicago Bears. And, he's still missed to this day. Um, because he was a good player, but his life was taken away too soon because he could have had a wonderful career. I think he would. I think he would have be wonderful, just like Walter Payton. I mean, that's my opinion. So, because I'm not really a football fan, I just see what I see, and from I just listen to people's comments and or read their comments and I ask them, and they tell me what they think about them. And so I'll talk about his biography a little bit, and also I will talk about the TV movie Brian's Song, which I did see that movie, and it's one of the few sports movies that I enjoy. Okay, so Brian Piccolo, his real name was Louis Bryan, born on October 31st, 1943, and he was a halfback of the Chicago Bears for 4 years, and his number was number 41. He was born in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and when he was very young, maybe about 3 years old, he moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, because his parents were worried about his brother Don's health. So they did that. And his brothers were athletes also. And he was a running back for his high school football team. And he graduated in Fort Lauderdale at St. Thomas Aquinas High School, which the stadium is named after him. I don't know when that happened. He also played college football at Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He had a scholarship, and it was offered at Wichita State, which he did not accept. I wonder why. Must be a reason. And let's see. And then, so he was not selected for the draft in 1967, but he tried out for the Bears as a free agent. And he made the team for the Chicago Bears. That's good. And then in 1967, or maybe earlier than that, he met football player Gale Sayers. First, they didn't care for each other. They were just players, colleagues. And then in 1969, Piccolo was moved up to starting fullback. And then Sayers returned as halfback. Okay. And then, when they were traveling, playing games in other cities, they became roommates. And, they first, it was kind of icy then, but then they become real good friends, very good friends. And that's wonderful. That's happened to me. Sometimes when I meet someone I don't particularly care for, but then when you sit down and talk to them or get to know them, they turn out the most wonderful people in the world, and they're like friends for life, and it's a wonderful feeling. It's amazing. It happens to most people, and let's see. And then he got very sick, and he was losing weight. That's Brian Piccolo, and he went to the doctor, and he was diagnosed with embryonal cell carcinoma. I don't know if I pronounce it right. It's I would I'll get into that and what that is. And he went to New York City and had they found a tumor in his lung. They removed it, and then he had a second surgery in April of 1970, and they removed his left lung and his pectoral muscle. But the cancer has spread already to his other organs, and that's terrible, and mostly to his liver, and that's a shame. And so he died on June 16th, 1970, at the age of 26. And when the news broke out about that, it was horrible, horrible. And the month before Brian Piccolo died, Gale Sayers accepted the George S. Hallis Award for Most Courageous Player. And when he stood up at the podium, he told the crowd, "You selected the wrong person. I don't deserve this. It belonged to Brian Piccolo." And he said the famous words, "I love Brian Piccolo, and I like you to all of you to love him too. Tonight, when you hit your knees to pray, please ask God to love him too." That really is touching. It really is. And when they had his funeral, it was at the King Catholic Church in Chicago, and it was held on June 19th, and he is buried at St. Mary Catholic Cemetery in Evergreen Park. Not too, it's the cemetery across from Evergreen Cemetery where my father is buried. So yeah, maybe someday I'll go find him, and take a look and visit his grave. We'll see. Uh, i- Incidentally, I will go see my father today. I will go to the cemetery and visit him. So that make Father's Day very special. And so the disease um, that he died of, it was it's really testicular cancer. But I will get into the movie in a minute. I'll explain that. So when Brian Piccolo lived in Chicago, he lived in the Beverly area. The funny coincidence is when I was researching this online, and I Googled it, I found out his first house that he lived in is for sale. I looked at the house, not too big, but it looked very nice. But he lived in another house in the Beverly area, of course, and then he his family lived there for a time, and after he died, and then his wife Joy remarried, and but then the family moved to Deerfield, up north, and he had three daughters, so he leaves that. Okay, and let's see. Next up, I'll talk about Brian's song, and this TV movie was absolutely wonderful. I loved it, and let's see. It was released on November 30th, 1971, about a year after Brian Piccolo passed away. And the movie was about the life of the friendship and of Brian Piccolo and Gail Sayers, also about Brian's cancer battle, and the actor who portrayed Brian Piccolo was James Caan, and I'm not crazy about him, but he's a good actor. But I always thought of him as the Godfather, but he was marvelous in that. But then I watched him, he was great. He played the role perfectly. I liked him. And Gail Sayers was played by Billy D. Williams, and and the ratings hit the roof when they aired that. And then the movie company Columbia Pictures released it in the theaters in Chicago, and it didn't do very well, not really, but that's okay. So, but they repeat this movie every year, and you could still, I think it's on DVD, I believe, but you could watch it on YouTube. And I saw the movie about recently, and I remembered it, and still touching. And the book and the movie is based on a book that it was Gail Sayers' autobiography called "I Am Third." He didn't write it. Yeah, the author's name was William Blinn, and the other actor in the movie was Jack Warden. He played George House. He played the coach, and there were other. And the wife, Joey Piccolo, was played by Shelley Fabre. If you remember her from Donna Reed Show, Coach, and One Day at a Time. And there were some cameos from the Chicago Bears that were playing. Most famously was Dick Butkus. He was there. I love this guy. I just look at him, I started laughing. But he's wonderful, and so the movie did very well. And they made the theme song, Brian's song, and the one let's see, it was by the music of the film was by Michel Legrand, and when it was released at Billboard 100, came a very popular song. When I hear that, I start. It's so sad. It really is. But it's a shame because for a guy who died so young of cancer, at the age of 26, it's just heartbreaking. The funny thing about this is now when you are diagnosed with testicular cancer, there's more advancement now. If you caught early, you have a survival rate of almost 99%. You'd be okay. But back then, this was 50 years ago, it wasn't true. It wasn't true at all. And in the movie, they didn't mention he had terminal cancer, but they did not say testicular cancer because it was television in the 70s, and testicles, that's a no-no. You can't say that. That's kind of funny, but when it breaks my heart is when young people get sick, especially cancer. As for me, I'm a cancer survivor, and I have been. It's going to be 8 months next Monday, and it's very heartbreaking, to see that because if you beat this thing, you have a chance to survive and do all the things you want to do, and that's what I'm doing. There are a lot of things I like to do, but I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing my Facebook page. That brings a lot of joy for me, and it brings a lot of joy to everyone. And that's satisfying enough for me. So it's very sad. But when I received the news, when I was diagnosed in December 2018, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I hated that. Oh, and when my mother was with me when that happened, and then there was one day where I saw her in the kitchen, she was crying, and she didn't see me. I just heard her, and that broke my heart. I hated that. I hated being sad, and I hated my mom being sad for me. But we took care. So I took care of it. I had the operation. Prostate was removed. Radiation followed. I've had a couple of operations this year, but it was related to that. It was urinary retention, and I had a kidney stone removed. So I'm doing much better, much, much better. I feel wonderful. And I resumed my walking. I did my exercise. So I've been doing that, and it feels good, Okay. So Brian Piccolo is still remembered to this day, and it's over 50 years ago. He touched our hearts very much. When I saw Brian's song, it reminds me of another movie, Pride of the Yankees, that starred Gary Cooper as Lou Gehrig. And when I saw that when I was little, that was sad. It was a good movie. I liked it a lot. Okay. That'll be all for today. I talked about the Land Yachts, the 1970s, and also the late Brian Piccolo, the Chicago Bears. And I hope you enjoyed the show. It was kind of emotional for me and very, very rewarding. I let it all out. It was nice. Okay. So this is Pico Styles, your host of Vanishing Land Stories. I hope you have a wonderful Father's Day. And it's a beautiful day today. Got some plans tonight, and we'll go out. And I hope to see you soon. Hopefully, I'll do another episode this week. We'll see. And also on Vanishing Land Stories, please subscribe. It's on Apple Podcasts. Any podcasts that are available. It's also on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe there. And it's also on my social media accounts. And wherever podcasts are available, just I'm repeating that. Sorry. So thank you again. Everyone have a lovely day. And here is Ray Rayner saying bye-bye for now with a little traveling music, and bye-bye now for me. So long, everyone. Take care.
We have to go. Bye, bye, bye.